Yes guys, we are back. The Champions League is back again in this upcoming week. So this time we are moving into match day 2. And I think this will be a fantastic game week. So the standout games are obviously Barcelona versus PSG, which is going to go absolutely crazy. Monaco versus Man City as well. Absolute banger games. Let's get straight into the video. Hopefully you do enjoy. If you do, drop a like. Now first off, we have Kairat versus Real Madrid. This game I think only goes one way, and I think you know which way I'm leaning towards. Let's get started with Kairat. They've started not too well, losing against Sporting 4-1 in their last game. I mean, they're a new team in the competition. A positive is they have scored their first goal in that match, but it's a new team coming into the Champions League, so they could learn a lot from that game and use it against Real Madrid. But Real Madrid are obviously 15-time Champions League winners, so it's gonna be rough. But on to Real Madrid. They have been pretty decent so far. Last game they played Marseille and they won 2-1. Mbappe balled out and he scored 2 penalties. Carvajal getting a red card, so he won't be available, which sucks because Trent got injured in a few minutes into the game, so he's gonna be out for a few weeks, I believe. And Mbappe looks incredibly sharp and ready to play. He scored 2 goals in that match, as we mentioned before. But my prediction is gonna be a 3-1 win for Real Madrid. Moving on to Atalanta versus Club Brugge. I think this will be one of the most underrated games. So let's get started with Atalanta. Not a good start to the Champions League. I mean, they lost their first game to PSG, the champions, 4-0, which is very rough. Coming up against the best team in the world is it's a very rough game, honestly. But Lookman will be back for this game as he played against Torino in the Serie A, and they're missing a very key midfielder in Ederson. He is injured as well, so I don't think he'll be back for this game. I'm sure they'll give a little bit of fight in this match. Moving on to Club Brugge. Normally they are a very underrated team. They proved last season that they could beat top teams like Aston Villa. I believe they gave them a very good match. In their first game this season already, they played Monaco, I consider a pretty underrated team. They won 4-1, very impressive. Vanakin, the veteran, getting a goal. What a player. That guy's been at the club for so long. But this team, I feel like we gotta keep an eye on this team. They could do something special and be a potential underdog once again, but it will be a test to see if they could take on Atalanta. Now my prediction, gonna be a 2-2 draw. Moving on to Marseille versus Ajax, another very underrated game. So let's get started with Marseille. Doing not the best so far in the competition, losing last game 2-1 to Real Madrid, which is tough. You got Timothy Weah getting on the score sheet, so it was incredibly dangerous in that match as well. They have a very unique style of play, I would say. They just play with a lot of risky passing going forward. I've never seen a team play the way they do. Something De Zerbi has implemented, I guess, into the team. But onto Ajax, they have not started the season too well. They actually lost 2-0 to Inter in the last game. They did not have many opportunities attacking wise. They only managed 2 shots on target throughout the whole game, so it's not too good. But this game versus Marseille gonna be a test defensively, and Weghorst, he seems to be doing pretty well at Ajax. Now my prediction is going to be a 2-1 win for Marseille. Now Inter versus Slavia Praha. This game, in my opinion, should go one way. That's what I think. But let's get started with Inter. They've started the campaign quite well. As I mentioned before, they won 2-0 against Ajax, and Marcus Thuram being the main man, scoring a brace in that match. He's been fantastic ever since he joined them, but still they have started the Champions League with a clean sheet, which is good. I did not expect them to start with a clean sheet, especially since Inzaghi really instilled kind of like that low block into the team. But I mean, a clean sheet is good, and we'll see how they do leading up to the next few games. And then if they make it to the knockout rounds, we'll talk about that in another video. Onto Slavia Praha. They have started actually this season not too bad. Last game they played Bodo Glimt, and they lost 2-2. Usually a team that does not do too well in Europe. Like this game against Inter, gonna really test them offensively. So let's see how they do in this match. Now my prediction gonna be a 3-1 win for Inter. Moving on to Chelsea versus Benfica. This game could be quite the underrated one. So let's get started with Chelsea. They've actually started their Champions League campaign not well. Like their first match, they faced off against Bayern and they lost 3-1. I consider Bayern a really good squad this season. They're looking very dangerous. Palmer, the only player scoring in that match, but Bayern, I would say, dominated that match as well. Chalobah scored a own goal. Like Elise crossed it in and there was a player right behind Chalobah. Alba just literally passed it into his own net. It was kind of disastrous from Chelsea. Caicedo gave away a penalty as well. They were making a lot of mistakes, so they need to change that and improve that in this match. On to Benfica, they started the campaign not doing too well, losing to Karabag 3-2. That was a very surprising result. They're normally a quite underrated team. Pavlidis scoring in that game as well. Very solid striker. This guy scores in nearly every single match that I see Benfica playing. They gotta come into this Chelsea game and prove something, because I think that loss against Karabag is quite awful. And my prediction is gonna be a 3-2 win for Chelsea. Galatasaray versus Liverpool. This one I think is going to be super exciting. So let's get started with Galatasaray. They've started the season not well. They actually lost their first game against Eintracht Frankfurt 5-1. That is probably the highest scoreline we've seen in Matchday 1. Stats wise, it was fairly even. Frankfurt were just more clinical. I feel like Osimhen being injured is a massive blow. He got injured. Or Nigeria, they're missing their main striker. They still have Gundogan and Sane who can make something happen, but it's gonna be tough against a Liverpool side. Onto Liverpool, this team, man, they started the UCL campaign quite well, scoring a last minute goal. Once again, winning 3-2 against Atletico Madrid. Like, how many times this season have they scored a last minute goal? It's unbelievable. This time it was Van Dijk scoring off a corner. Unbelievable. I gotta say, when this team gels together with all the new signings, gonna be dangerous. Like, seriously, the chemistry between this team and this team, I'm gonna be scared if we face off against them in that second match in the Premier League. They still gotta add Isak into that team in the Champions League, even though Ekitike has been doing pretty well in that position. But my prediction is gonna be a 3-0 win for Liverpool. Moving on to Pafos versus Bayern. We all know which way this game is going, so let's get started with Pafos. They have started the season not too bad. You could say newly promoted team into the Champions League, but their first game they got a draw against Olympiacos in their first match. That's pretty decent, I would say, for a new team being in the competition for, I believe, the first time. I'm sure they will take it. But Bruno Felipe did get sent off in that match, so he's not going to be playing in this Bayern match. But onto Bayern, they're doing very well in this campaign so far. At the moment, they look very dangerous. Last game they played Chelsea and they dominated them and won 3-1. Kane, being one of the best strikers in the world, getting a brace. Elise has been cooking ever since he moved to Bayern as well. Just my prediction, gonna be a 4-0 win for Bayern. Moving on to Bodo Glimt versus Tottenham. This game could be very interesting. So let's get started with Bodo Glimt. Now, they have started the campaign, I would say, alright. The last game and first game, they got a draw versus Sparta Praha, ended 2-2. So this could be one of the most underrated, you could call them underdogs in this competition. They were that in the Europa League. I believe they got to the semi-finals where they lost to Tottenham. Exactly. So this is a rematch right here. Maybe Bodo Glimt could get a little bit of revenge here, who knows, but they're a very strong team at home. It's really hard to beat them there, and they're very high scoring at their home ground. Now onto Tottenham. They've started the season quite well, playing Villarreal in their first game and winning 1-0, but Tottenham's only shot on target was a own goal. They still have not scored a goal from like their own player and in open play. So Xavi Simons did seem like a very exciting player in that team. Kudus has been a great signing as well for them. So my prediction is going to be actually a 2-1 win for Bodo Glimt, as they're playing at home. Moving on to Atletico Madrid versus Eintracht Frankfurt. This game's gonna be quite the game if I'm being honest. So let's get started with Atletico Madrid. They've started the season not too well. Last game they actually played Liverpool and they lost 3-2, losing the game last minute to a Van Dijk header. Like I mentioned before, Alvarez is back, which is a huge positive. I believe in today's game that they played, Alvarez got a hat-trick. It's one of the best strikers in the world at the moment, one of the best nines right now. It's crazy. But on to Frankfurt. They've actually, wow, they've surprised me this season. They started very well. They beat Galatasaray 5-1 in their first game. That's unbelievable. And multiple, I think all their shots were goals. All the shots on target were goals. That's something else, but very good start, especially considering they lost one of their main strikers in Ekitike to Liverpool. So maybe we could see a underrated team here forming in this competition, but I'm not really sure yet. My prediction for that game is gonna be a 2-2 draw between the two. Moving on to Karabag versus Copenhagen. Now Karabag, I believe this their first time in the competition for quite a while. They actually won their first game in this competition. I think it was 3-2 against Benfica. That's a very good result considering it's like your first time possibly ever, or first time in a while, being in this competition. So considering they were doing horribly last season in the Europa League, they've really brought it back in a higher level of European football. That's very surprising. Maybe we could see another underrated team in this competition. Now Copenhagen, that's a team who did pretty decent, I would say, last season, considering like they're probably one of the best teams in Denmark at the moment. Last game they played against Leverkusen, that game ended 2-2. We had quite a tight game because Grimaldo for Leverkusen, he scored a free kick. Like, how many times does this guy score a free kick? It's unbelievable. But for Copenhagen, they honestly had more shots than Leverkusen and they scored 2 goals, just pretty alright. I would say the goal scorers being Larsen. I believe the other goal was a own goal. Leverkusen have fell off quite a bit, but Copenhagen could definitely give Karabag a run for their money. So honestly, I could see this game ending 3-2 to Copenhagen. Moving on to Union Saint-Gilloise versus Newcastle. Now Union Saint-Gilloise, I think they have started the campaign quite well. Actually, in their first game they faced PSV. Now I consider PSV quite a good team, especially since last season we had that high scoring game against Juventus. Last season in the Eredivisie, they scored 103 goals, but St. Gilloise, they came into the first match day of the Champions League, more shots on target than them as well, and they scored 3 goals, beating them 3-1. I think this is a pretty underrated team. I wasn't expecting them to win this match. I believe in my predictions video, I had PSV winning, but they proved us wrong here. So moving on to Newcastle. Now Newcastle, I'm not sure how they will do in this competition, but so far, what can I say, they have done not too bad. But they had Barcelona at St. James's Park. Tough team to play. But Barcelona, attacking wise, they were not too much on it. They were dominating the game a little bit here and there, but Rashford is the player who literally saved them in that match with 2 goals. Second goal, absolute banger. On Newcastle's side, they had Gordon scoring the only goal in the 90th minute, but they've signed a new striker in Woltmade to replace Isak. But I don't think he's registered in the team just yet, so they had to play Gordon in the middle, Elanga on the wing, and Barnes on the wing. But that midfield 3, it's always so solid of Guimaraes, Tonali, and Joe Linton. But Pedri was absolutely piecing them up, like unbelievable midfielder, probably best in the world. But my prediction for this game is gonna be a 2-1 win for Newcastle. Moving on to Man City versus Monaco now, and this is a very good game right here. But starting with Monaco, they actually started off this campaign not too well, losing 4-1 to Club Brugge. I did not expect that at all. I believe Pogba did not play in that game, but they have great talents like Balogun, who scored over 20 goals in the league. We did not see Ansu Fati starting the game as well, but Ansu Fati came on and he scored in the 90th minute. Last season, this team was a very underrated team. They finished, I believe, quite high in the league phase. They moved into the knockouts, but they did not do too well over there. Moving on to Man City now. Man City are definitely one of the favorites, I would say, to win this competition, but still, I do not think they're that strong coming into Europe. I don't think like they're top contender to win this competition, although in their first match they did win 2-0 against Napoli. Now Napoli got absolutely dominated. Napoli only got one shot on target compared to Man City's 74% possession, 8 shots on target, 23 shots overall. Doku, he's improved this game so much. Finishing wise, fantastic. Just input wise, like assisting wise, goal contributions, I think it's gonna go way up for Doku this season. And obviously Haaland scoring in that game as well. But in this match against Monaco, I think Man City is probably gonna win like 3-1. Moving on to Dortmund versus Athletic Club. Now this could go either way, honestly, but I think Dortmund might be the favorite on this side. Now Dortmund have been a pretty good team in the Champions League throughout multiple years. They drew it 4-4 against Juventus. It just kept on going back and forth. Vlahovic came on, he scored 2 goals for Juventus, and then Lloyd Kelly in the 96th minute equalized for Juventus, but Adeyemi scored, Mecha scored, and then a penalty was awarded in the 86th minute for Dortmund. Adeyemi, he's always scoring for this team in the competition, but Dortmund, I think overall they play some very good football. Guirassy, amongst the top goal scorers last season, I believe he got like 13 goals in the Champions League last season. He was a top striker at this level. So moving on to Athletic Club. In their first match they faced off against my club Arsenal and they lost 2-0. Honestly, it was a fairly even game. Arsenal just had more shots on target. Martinelli came on in that match. He literally scored once again, just like in the Premier League against Man City. He scored coming off the bench. Trossard again coming off the bench, scoring as well. But Eze, he couldn't really get anything going, so that's probably why Arteta took him off and put on Trossard. Gyökeres, he started the season well in the Premier League, but Champions League we did not see him. He was getting into positions, but no one was creating proper chances for him. Like, this is the problem with the team when you start Rice, Marino, and Zubamendi in the middle. Like, no creativity right there. Madueke, he's out for 2 to 3 months. We're stuck with Saka or Doman with our rotation right now, so a little bit rough. But Athletic Club, they got Nico Williams and Inaki Williams. I think a pretty underrated team. We just need to see how they do against Dortmund, because obviously Arsenal is a tough team to face off against. They have a top defense, but in this game I think it's gonna be like a 2-2 draw between the two. Moving on to Napoli versus Sporting. Now this is yet another very interesting game. Napoli being the champions of the Serie A from last season, but coming into this competition in the first match they did not do too well. Honestly, they faced off against Man City, as I mentioned, and yeah, it did not go well. I believe they lost like 2-0. Man City completely dominated them, limited them to 1 shot on target. Giovanni Di Lorenzo got a red card as well, so he's not going to be available for this match against Sporting. But overall, that Napoli side, it looks pretty good, but then you have Højlund up top instead of Lukaku. I think Lukaku might be out injured for a little bit more time, but I mean, McTominay is one of their top players as well. He won the MVP in Serie A. You got De Bruyne, who's a top creator in the world as well, so I think they'll come back with their form in this match against Sporting. But Sporting last season, They were a very, very good team. They actually finished, I think, second in the league phase before Amorim left for Manchester United. And then, yeah, it went downhill. They finished like 22nd or around there. So qualified for the playoffs. But this season, they've started quite well. I would say, starting off with a 4-1 win against Kairat. Now, goals coming in from Trincao, a brace, then one goal coming from Giovanni. That guy, I believe, is a top talent. He is rapid, that guy. But yeah, Sporting have started pretty well. I think they have a pretty good team. Ignacio has been at the club for quite a while. He's a great center back. Pedro Gonçalves has been there for quite a while as well. Top creator, he could score goals as well. Could play middle or even on the left wing. But yeah, Trincao has been balling out there ever since he moved there from Barcelona. So good move from him. I think this match is going to be tough to predict. I think Napoli is actually going to win this match like 2-1. Moving on to Villarreal versus Juventus. Now, I would say Villarreal have started the competition not the best. They actually faced off against Tottenham. They gave them actually quite a game, but Tottenham only had one shot at that game on target, and Villarreal had 0 shots on target, even though they had like 10 shots. So yeah, it was a little bit of, I would say, a boring game. The only goal came from a own goal from Luis Jr., but Villarreal, they have some quality in the team, obviously. Mika Twedze, the Georgian from, I believe he signed from Lyon, he balled out in the Euros. I remember that. We have Ayoze Perez up top, Buchanan being one of the up-and-coming youngsters in the Canadian team, and Nicolas Pepe has just won Player of the Month in the La Liga coming off that. Well, loads of very good players in there. They just need to figure out how to beat this Juventus side, because this Juventus side, I believe, second place right now, but still unbeaten. Like, this Juventus side, I think, is looking a lot better this season, even though their first match was a 4-4 draw against Dortmund. Absolutely incredible. They made a comeback, 4-3 down or something. Got Kenan Yildiz scoring an absolute incredible goal, just curling it top corner. Vlahovic coming off the bench, scoring 2 goals as well. Super sub right there. And then Lloyd Kelly scoring a 96-minute goal, and Vlahovic getting a assist. So if that means Vlahovic gets a start, I think he deserves a start over Openda in that Juventus team. I think either Jonathan David starts up front or Vlahovic. Man, what a game this is gonna be between Villarreal and Juventus. We could see it being high scoring, or Juventus could kind of dominate the match, but I see Juventus winning this game like 3-1. Moving on to Arsenal versus Olympiacos. This is a game for the ages. We saw Olympiacos beat Arsenal a few years ago in the Europa League, and Arsenal have come quite a long way from that spot. We've gotten a lot of quality players. I don't have to name them because you guys obviously know. We've made quite a bit of progress throughout the years, but still no trophy, unfortunately. Hopefully this season. But yeah, in that first match we played Athletic Club, dominated the possession. We got more shots on target. Martinelli scoring a goal. I believe he came off the bench. Leandro Trossard once again off the bench as well. Those two scored once again. Like, the super sub timing is absolutely incredible from Arteta in this match. I thought we were gonna draw it, for being honest. But Gyökeres, like, we gotta speak about this guy. I don't know what's going on with him. He started the season pretty well. I think he has like 3 goals in like 5 games in the Premier League. But in the Champions League, he kind of struggled, I would say. He did get in behind, but no one literally played him. No one's playing him in behind. That's probably his favorite thing to do, just run in behind. But there's no passes going in behind, especially since we have Declan Rice, Zubimendi, and Marino. I believe I said before, there's no creativity in the midfield. There's no creativity. Arteta has to at least start the one Neri or like Doman, bring on Doman for example, but like even move Eze into the middle. Like, bro, like, come on. Moving on to Olympiacos. Now, I believe they started alright in the Champions League. They faced off against Paphos, and that was a 0-0 draw, but Overall, Olympiacos really dominated that game. They limited Paphos to 1 shot on target. Olympiacos had 70% possession, 18 shots, and 3 of those shots were on target. So a red card was awarded to Bruno Felipe. So most likely it was a breakaway and he just fouled the guy and got a red. That's what I'm assuming. I did not watch the match. But Olympiacos, I believe a few years ago they won the Conference League, which is huge for them. But in this competition, a 0-0 draw, I think is a pretty good result for them. But next game is Arsenal. So Arsenal have one of the best defense in the Premier League, also in the world. So they gotta really be prepared attacking wise. But my prediction is gonna be a 3-0 win for Arsenal. Moving on to Barcelona versus PSG. Yamal versus Dembele. Just like in the Ballon d'Or, Dembele ended up winning. Congrats to him. I think fully deserved. Barcelona have started the season very well. I think they're one of the best teams in the world. Obviously alongside PSG as well. In that first match, they faced off Newcastle in the St. James's Park, and that was quite the game. Honestly, Pedri was phenomenal. That's probably one of the best performances I've seen from a midfielder for a while. Like, this guy's the best midfielder in the world. He was running that midfield. I remember there was one situation in the game. I think they were 2-1 up and they had to kind of run down time. Pedri literally ran to the top right corner and 3 players literally behind him and just swivels past them. Unbelievable. He's so calm on the ball. Great passing. He could score as well. What a midfielder, man. But yeah, in that game, Marcus Rashford got the start and he scored 2 goals for them, literally getting them the win. That second goal, phenomenal. His ball striking is unbelievable. It's unreal. But I gotta say, that pivot of Pedri and De Jong, they're absolutely running the tempo of that Barcelona team. It's fantastic. But they're gonna have to wait for Yamal to come in for the match. I think he's gonna be out for this match, which is unfortunate. We could have seen Dembele versus Yamal after the Ballon d'Or ceremony, but I don't think it's gonna happen. Moving on to PSG, obviously the best team in the world, in my opinion, at the moment. They started pretty well in the Champions League so far, facing against Atalanta, winning 4-0. Kvaratskhelia, I mean, what a signing he has been for PSG, scoring a goal there. Nuno Mendes scoring for them as well. Like, completely dominated the game. 67% possession, 13 shots on target, 22 shots overall. That is unbelievable. Obviously, I think Ousmane Dembele did not play in this match. I believe he was arrested or he was going or preparing for the Ballon d'Or ceremony. But Vitinha, this guy finished 3rd in the Ballon d'Or. That's very interesting, ahead of Salah and also Rafinha. So Hakimi, probably one of the best right backs in the world. Nuno Mendes, hands down right now the best left back in the world. This overall team just plays fantastic football. So we're gonna see fantastic Barcelona football against fantastic PSG football. Who do I think is gonna win? I think it's gonna be a pretty high scoring game, but I think PSG is gonna win this game 3-2. Moving on to the last game, Leverkusen versus PSG. Now Leverkusen, it's been an awful start for them for the season in the Champions League. They drew 2-2 to Copenhagen. This team has kind of had a fall off a little bit ever since Xabi Alonso left. They had Wirtz leave, Boniface left, Xhaka left, and Kape has gone to Arsenal for a loan. They've lost so many of their key players, and yeah, they're gonna have to rebuild from the bottom up. But in their last match, as I said, they drew 2-2 against Copenhagen. Grimaldo scoring, I believe it was a free kick as well. How often does this guy score free kicks? He's just incredibly good at them. Before, Bayer Leverkusen had Erik ten Hag 2 games into the Bundesliga season, and then he got sacked. Crazy. Now they have the manager of Denmark. Højlund is his name, so let's see how he does for his first game in the Champions League. Moving on to PSV. Obviously, PSV have not started the season too well, losing to Union St. Galois 3-1, as I mentioned before, and that's not ideal for PSV. They kind of got dominated in that match, apart from possession wise, but shots wise and everything else, Union St. Gilloise had them there. I expect this PSV team to be a lot more attacking, especially with players like Pepe, who was pretty good last season. Perisic is in there, very experienced player, two-footed player if we're being honest. Saibari being a very exciting player. I don't know what's going on with this PSV team, but I think they could be better in this game against Leverkusen. It's literally gonna be, right now in their current form, it's literally mid versus mid. Unless we get a high scoring game, I see PSV winning this game 3-1. So thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy the video. Don't forget to drop a like, comment down below your predictions for these matches. Don't forget to subscribe as well. Drop a like if you did enjoy the video, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.